Okay, so here comes a couple more questions. They're a little bit tougher, and you can see that they've got radicals all over the place. But stick to your guns. Remember what I taught you. Remember down here in the bottom, you're going to use FOIL again. But remember, because you're going to multiply by the conjugate, and the conjugate is root 11 plus 2 root 2, you don't have to do the OI in FOIL, right? Because those OIs cancel out. The outer and the inner cancel out. So let's go out and do this right now. Here we go. Root 11 times root 11. That's easy. That's just 11. Then you can skip over the outer and the inner. Don't forget, you can just skip right over it, and you're going to go right to the last. And if you look at the last, it's minus 2 times 2, which is minus 4, and then you've got your root 2 times root 2. That's just 2. All right, so what do you get on the bottom? Easy as pie. It's 11 minus 8, which works out to be, woohoo, 3. That's it. That's your denominator. It's done. Now, clean this up a little bit. Let's look at our numerator. Don't forget, we're multiplying the same thing, the bottom and the top, by the conjugate. And unfortunately, since the 2 up top here, this and this are not conjugates of each other, yup, you got to do the whole FOIL thing. And if you don't do the whole FOIL thing, you won't get the right answer. So let's clean this up a little bit so that we can actually see the top. There we go. There we go. Okay. So first, root 11 times root 11. That's easy enough. That's just 11. Okay. Here we go. 2 root 2 times root 11 is plus 2 root 22. Huh, well, this isn't so bad. Look at this. 5 root 2 times root 11. Well, then that's just plus 5 root 22. And finally, the bottom here, or I should say the last, is 5 times 2, which is 10. So this is, of course, adding again. 10. Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. Oh, that's going to be kind of nice, actually. Let's look at this. Let's clean it up a little bit. There's an 11, and there's a 10 times 2. So this is 11 plus 10 times 2 is 20. Okay, you have 2 root 22 and 5 root 22, which works out to be 7 root 22. Let's clean it up even more, right? Let's combine these two guys to give me 31 plus 7 root 22 over 3. And you know what? It's done. Well, heck, that wasn't so bad. Actually turned out to be not too bad of a question at all. So you might want to stop the podcast here, go back a little bit and see what I did, just to kind of keep, kind of refresh things for you, because we're going to go on to monster question. Okay, so stop the podcast, watch that one again, and I'll give you a couple seconds here. Okay, now let's go on to this one. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm calling this a monster question because it's got radicals and everything. Not all the radicals match. It'll be ugly. But let's see. So first things first, multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate. The conjugate, of course, all you got to do is change one of the signs. That's the sign you want to change to a negative, root 6, because that follows the difference of squares law, right? And that means that outer and inner two terms are going to cancel. So again, when you're doing your FOIL on the bottom, you can get rid of the oi. All right. Okay, here we go. So there's our first. 3 times 3. Well, that's just 9. But root 3 times root 3 is also just 3. That's fine. That gives us a nice, pretty number. We can work with that. And of course, skip the oi. Go right to the last. Root 6 times a negative root 6 is negative 6. Okay, so let's clean this up a little bit. 9 times 3, if I'm not mistaken, is still 27, minus 6. So on the bottom then, 27 minus 6, you're going to get 21. Now, let's go back to the top. Okay, so if we multiply the bottom by 3 root 3 minus 6, we multiply the top by 3 root 3 minus root 6. Okay, so again, don't forget, you have to do the whole FOIL for this. Everything. Okay, here we go. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. 3 times 3, well, of course, that's 9. Root 5 times root 3 is root 15. Okay, interesting. This then becomes the outer 3 root 5 times negative root 6. Well, let's just make that a negative right off the bat. So this is like having a 1 up front. So 3 times 1 is just 3. Root 5 times root 6 is just plain old root 30. Great. Okay, we're good. Now, let's do the inner, which is 2 root 3 times 3 root 3. So that's, again, minus 6. Root 3 times root 3 is just plain old 3. And then finally, let's look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Minus times a minus is a positive, and I'm just running out of room here, so I'll put it up like this. I have minus 2 times minus 1, so that's where a positive comes from. So that's 2, and root 3 times root 6, which is root 18. Huh, interesting. Anything to combine there? No, but we can simplify a few things. I mean, if you look at this, none of these things have like roots, nothing. Look at that, they're all different roots. So I'm just gonna put down 9 root 15 here. I'm gonna put the minus 3 root 30 there. I'm gonna put 6 times 3, well that's pretty easy to do because that's just minus 18, right? And then here is 2 root 18. That one could possibly reduce. So how do you know? How do you know which one to reduce, which one doesn't reduce? Well, you know what? Take every single one of these guys, every single one of these radicals, this one, and this one, and try to break it down. Look, 15 breaks down to 5 times 3. You'll never get a pair out of that one. Look at 30. 30 breaks down to 15 times 2, which we know breaks down to 5 times 3 times 2. Guess what? No pairs. And then look at 18. 18, if you think about it, is 9 times 2. Aha, there's 3 times 3 times 2. That one will have a pair. So that one, since it has a 2 in front of the root 18, don't forget to put the 2, carry the 2 on, take one rep out, one representative out of the double 3s, there's a 3, and then what's left stays under the radical sign. That's that guy. So 2 times 3 is 6, so I got 6 root 2 here. So this guy becomes 6 root 2. So let's clean this up even more. So 9 root 15 minus 3 root 30 minus 18 plus 6 root 2. What a mess. Oh my goodness. Now, some people look at this and go, oh, well, we're done. Actually, no, we're not. Because if you think about it, look, this is a 9, this is a 3, this is an 18, this is a 6. And what's common with 21? That's right. A 3 divides into all of them. So divide everything by 3. Okay, so here we go. Oh, let's move it down a little bit. That jumped up. There we go. Divide everything by 3. Okay, so this guy here becomes 3 root 15. This guy here becomes minus root 30. This guy here becomes minus 6. This one here becomes plus 2 root 2. And guess what? The whole thing is over. Yep, you're taking a 3 out of the 21 as well, over 7. And that would be your final answer. Woo, what a question. Holy smokes.